His son! Hello everybody, welcome to the Detour editorial post on the MaffmanJones movie channel. This is not part of the MaffmanJones movie show. I'm going to be doing detours when the big news comes out. I feel like it's a cool idea and a relevant idea. Something big happened with Spider-Man. It was going to happen anyway, but let's get into it now. But yeah, I'm just going to throw out videos out there when something crazy happens in the industry. But it was a whole fireworks display spectacle when Sony and Marvel broke up, divorced, call it what you want, and they took their rights back from the Spider-Man character, and Spider-Man Tom Holland would no longer be a part of the MCU. People were going crazy, people fighting for Disney, people fighting for Sony, people, it's like they know these people, like they know these corporations. They don't give a bat flipping shit about you, but here we are defending them. I don't defend anybody, I just think it was a silly thing to waste breath and get heated over this, because after all the dust settled, something else was going to happen. It was going to be renegotiated. They were going to come to terms with something else. And guess what? It happened. I had a feeling it would, but I didn't want to, throw opinions out there and throw words out there, but without it happening, I don't want to be shallow about it. But it happened. Kevin Feige will now be producing the third and supposedly final Spider-Man Tom Holland film in the MCU. And then after that, Sony will retain the rights to the character of Spider-Man, and they'll do whatever the hell they want with him after that doesn't involve the MCU, and they could put him in Venom movies and Morbius movies, Madame Web solo move. What the Somebody on Twitter said that they think Sony is overestimating the popularity of the Spider-Man character, and they are. Not the Spider-Man character isolated, but the other characters surrounding him, because people will see Venom movies because they like Venom that much. He's a popular character in the mainstream culture, but Madame Web, Morbius, they were planning on doing Kraven the Hunter, Silver Sable, Black Cat, all these random antagonists. No. I don't see where the audience would be for those movies. Maybe I'm stupid. I'm not working at this company. I'm not seeing the pitches, the meetings, and all that, but something tells me that that's a bad idea. If I ask my mother and father who Madame Web is, they'll be like, she related to the Queen of England? No, who's gonna see that movie? But anyway, I digress. For a little while, there was a lot of heat out there because Sony took back Spider-Man, and a temporary deal remained so, and Sony said, we want to keep the character because you, Marvel, Disney, want too much. You want the merchandising rights, and you want 50% of the movie's gross? Screw you, we're taking it back. But I don't even know, that was July? I don't even remember. So much has happened. We consume so much information in this world nowadays that a whole year's worth of information feels like a lifetime. I don't even know what happened in January anymore. Captain Marvel came out in March. I feel like March was 3 years ago. I've grown white hairs on the bottom of my chin. Kevin Feige is coming back to produce a third Spider-Man movie to complete this Tom Holland Spider-Man arc that was thrown on a big cliffhanger at the end of Far From Home that's released earlier this year. And I'm not going to spoil it still for anybody who hasn't seen the movie because it's still fresh. And it's coming out on Blu-ray this upcoming Tuesday, and it's on digital now. But they're signing the papers with John Watts to come back and direct this final movie too. So he will be the second director to direct all three movies of an IP character in this whole MCU franchise, next to James Gunn, who will be coming back after the fact, after directing Suicide Squad, to make Guardians 3. So that's the two directors. Joss Whedon made 2. The Russo brothers have made a bunch, but they never completed a trilogy. John Watts will be he will have made all 3 Spider-Man movies in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then they're coming out July 2021, which will be the first year for 4 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not a fan. I've been vocal about it. I'm not a fan of the MCU Spider-Man the way I have been with the Tobey Maguire movies. I enjoyed Andrew Garfield. For what it is, I enjoy the ridiculous cartoony nature of the second movie, and I like aspects of the first one. But they're not good movies, in my opinion. I do really like the whole Raimi trilogy. It's a different interpretation of the character, and I enjoy parts of it. I really love Tom Holland, and I love his surrounding high school cast. I love the villains they've had. Michael Keaton as the Vulture, Jake Gyllenhaal as the frickin' Mysterio, as Homecoming was fine. I think they did better with Far From Home in terms of bringing the emotions out and bringing an arc and actually showing the responsibility aspect of Peter Parker's character. But I still don't like how they incorporate the entire MCU and it takes away the focus of Spider-Man. But that's just me. I know people love these movies. I just don't like this interpretation of the character as much as other interpretations. Mainly the OG Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. But I love this movie so much. But anyway, yeah, we're going to get this third movie. Tom Holland posted on Instagram, he performed this super baller move of posting the scene from Wolf of Wall Street on Instagram. The scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is, supposed to step down from his company and he goes, you know what? I'm not going. I'm not fucking going! The show goes on! So here we are, all of us jackasses being super excited that a corporation and another corporation have decided to play happy parents for one more go-around until they get divorced again. We're going to do the same dance in a couple years in 2021, after the third movie comes out. Either they're going to renegotiate again, or we're going to have the same problems, or something can happen in between. A lot happens in 2 months, let alone 2 years. But I'm excited in the sense that I'm happy that we get to wrap up this story, because it would have been a super blue balls to have what happens at the end of the last movie happen and not have that resolved. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this particular story, I've mentioned literally like seconds ago, it would suck to not have that story fulfilled. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be fair, because that's just how these things go and that's how they roll. But you don't do that. You don't end your movie with something like that if you intend on possibly leaving. Like I'm talking about Sony. You don't do that if you intend on possibly leaving this merger, for this temporary merger. You're like, there's something there that's happening, and obviously these movies go through a lot of eyes before they come out in theaters. So somebody would have said, wait a minute, I don't know if we should make the end of this movie like such like a TV end of a season cliffhanger like that, because we kind of don't want to be here anymore. We kind of want to do our own thing. But yeah, I'm happy that fans get to see the end of this character in the MCU. He's going to be jumping around to, like, I guess Venom 2 or whatever else Sony plans on making. And to be honest, I don't need more MCU Peter Parker after this. I really like Tom Holland. I just want to see more focused stories in terms of Spider-Man, but we have so many Spider-Man stories already out there in entertainment. In the video game that came out last year is one of the best interpretations of the character ever, in my opinion. It's great comics. We've already had a whole ton of movies. We had Into the Spider-Verse. There's so much Spider-Man content out there. I don't want the market to be oversaturated with Spider-Man movies, but it could be, again, you can go like there's always new storytellers with new ideas that can innovate the character in ways that people never thought before. There's Foresight's 2020, and you never know. I could be eating crow, but after this movie, this third movie, I am satisfied with this interpretation of the character. I think I just want to see what they do with the third movie, because without spoiling it, there's a lot they could do with Peter Parker, with Spider-Man, with the city of New York. I've been banging the Kraven the Hunter drum since 2004. When I was a wee lad, excited for Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, I always wanted to see Kraven the Hunter, and it's been 15 years, still hasn't happened yet. I'm pretty confident when I say it's going to happen this time. So it's got to happen eventually, and the way that the last movie ended, I don't think there's any better of a time to bring him in. As I mentioned before, I think that Far From Home, with Mysterio and the post events of Endgame, they did a good job of focusing on Peter Parker, the character, suffering from the trauma that was the events that he went through in the prior two Avengers movies. And it does, obviously, Peter Parker in this world is just infused with the entire world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you can't not mention all this and not have him be involved, because part of his character is being involved with this whole situation that's been happening since 2016 when he was introduced in Civil War. And that's part of why I don't care for the character as much, this particular version of the character. But if you're gonna conclude Peter Parker, Tom Holland in this, they're obviously not gonna kill him. They're not gonna like write him off as if he's like riding off into the sunset. He's always going to be fighting crime. Since Sony and Marvel Studios is a temporary thing, they can't keep renegotiating forever and ever. Eventually, this thing has to end. So if Kevin Feige is possibly introducing the idea of writing him out of the third movie, he'll probably just end up being like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in New York City, fighting crime, doing his thing, and then one day, if they renegotiate further on, if they have an idea, they bring him back into the fold for like a bigger Avenger story. They'll contact Sony and go for that. Anybody who knows me knows I try to be as optimistic as possible on anything, but I would like to think that they're gonna try to do something really cool for this third movie. I want to think that they're gonna like push the maturity level of Peter Parker and push the story levels beyond being cookie cutter, fun, lighthearted comedy with some dramatic moments, which is what these last movies have been, like high school comedy with your superheroes and your fights and a couple dramatic moments, emotional moments. Whereas Far From Home has a couple moments that actually are very endearing in the sense that they did really get to me in my heartstrings. Homecoming is like, whatever. It's a fine movie. Again, I think it's enjoyable, but I don't really get anything out of it. I slightly get something out of this movie because it actually explores further into the craziness of Spider-Man. Although I don't really care for him going on vacation to Europe and just some of the hijinks that happened there. There are a couple sprinkles of things in there that I really liked with him dealing with Zendaya's character. That really reminded me of it reminded me of the potential of a great movie that could be in this MCU if they just focused on him completely. But shine glimmers of awesomeness and greatness, but mostly just pretty good. It's weird now because usually I feel like back in the day you'd have the better interpretation of the character in the first or second movie, especially the second movie. You have your Dark Knights and your Spider-Man 2s out there. But lately, with like the Captain America trilogy technically, and potentially with Guardians 3, like you have these people with these visions that are being seen completely through, especially with James Gunn with the Guardians movies. But it seems like with each Spider-Man passing, they're doing better things with the character. Like I think Civil War was a great way to kick him off in those first couple scenes. And then you had him in Infinity War as a great side character with a completely heartbreaking emotional ending there. And then having him being reintroduced through Endgame and then Far From Home, he's dealing with a lot now. He has a big chips on his shoulder, really. And then where you go from there, there's a lot you could do emotionally. But now, it seems like now, after what he's gone through in this film, despite the cliffhanger, he's his own character now, where he's in New York. It seems to me they could have an isolated story that focuses on Peter Parker without having him be brought down in focus by other MCU characters showing up, even though where it takes place, New York is full of MCU characters. You got your Doctor Stranges and your Nick Furies, even though Nick Fury isn't particularly in New York. He's out there. They got all these characters, but you could probably tell a very cool, isolated story in New York City with Peter Parker in this movie, and actually bring up the threat level, bring up the stakes. A young kid fighting for survival. That's a tough thing. And I'm just excited to see what they end up possibly doing, because I trust Kevin Feige. I like John Watts as a director. He's done a good job thus far, even though I don't love these movies. I've enjoyed them, and they're very entertaining so far. But I think there's the most potential for a Peter Parker story, for a Spider-Man story with this third movie, which is really intriguing to me. It's intriguing to me that we're getting around to a third movie and it's finally happening. It should be happening from the get-go, but I like the idea of what they're doing here. They're still kind of doing it, where they mentioned Harry Potter once before in an interview, where they're building up the stakes as the movies go on, where the kids who in real life are growing up with this Peter Parker. So as we get older, as the audience gets older, it becomes more real. The reality kind of sets in. And things are kind of fun and janky. Ooh, we're fighting Voldemort. He's on the back of somebody's head after a turban comes off. Ooh, trolls in the bathroom. Ooh. And then you have your Cedric moment where he gets killed by Voldemort when he's brought back to life in full form. And you're like, oh shit. As like whatever, like I was like 13 at the time. 13, 14. Holy shit. What the fuck? This is real. But I want to know from all you guys, what do you think of this news? Are you happy? Did you want to see Sony do their own thing with Spider-Man? Or can you be patient and wait and just look forward to what's going to be happening with this final MCU Spider-Man movie? But yeah, where do you think this story is going to go? Who do you want to see in Spider-Man 3, villain-wise? What do you want to see from the story? Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great weekend. I love y'all. Toodaloo. Enjoy football tomorrow if you enjoy football. For those of us who are in fantasy football and we're 0-3, going 0-4, baby. Embrace the flames. Ha ha ha. We're going to all go down together. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.